Apple fans hoping for a major leap forward with the M5 MacBook Pro in 2025 might want to brace themselves. A new wave of reliable leaks has revealed a substantial shift in Apple's MacBook roadmap, and it's a change that breaks from the company's typical release cadence. According to trusted sources familiar with Apple's plans, there will be no M5 MacBook Pro or MacBook Air models launching in 2025. Historically, Apple has maintained a fairly consistent MacBook release schedule, typically updating the MacBook Pro with new Apple silicon each year, like the M1 Pro in 2021, M2 Pro in early 2023, and M3 Pro in late 2024. Naturally, many expected the M5 MacBook Pro to land in late 2025, but according to new information from industry insiders, Apple has decided to hold off. There will be no M5 MacBooks launched in calendar year 2025. Instead, Apple is targeting an early 2026 release for both the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air powered by M5 chips, with another major update potentially coming later that same year. This break in cadence isn't unprecedented, remember. The M2 Pro and M2 Max chips were delayed into early 2023, but it is rare and notable for a company as methodical as Apple. Skipping a full year of MacBook Pro updates is a major strategic signal. So, what's behind the delay? Redesign implications, thinner MacBooks, and old displays incoming. This delay raises an obvious question. What happens to the rumored MacBook Pro redesign? The one with old displays, a dramatically thinner chassis, and re-engineered internals? Well, that's where things get interesting. The design overhaul isn't off the table, but it may be tied to either the M6 generation or a late 2026 M5 refresh. Apple has clear options on the table. Launch the M5 MacBook Pro in early 2026, then follow up with a separate redesigned version later that same year, likely paired with the M6 chip. Delay the entire redesign and introduce it alongside the M6 chip in 2027. The first scenario may sound unusual, but Apple has done this before. In early 2023, it released the M2 Pro and Max MacBook Pros in January, and replaced them just 10 months later with the M3 lineup in October. Even further back, Apple released the original 16-inch Intel MacBook Pro just months after refreshing the 15-inch version. So don't count out the possibility of two MacBook Pro launches in 1 year, especially if a major visual redesign is ready. Why you should skip the M5 MacBook Pro even if it does launch early? Let's get honest here. The M5 chip will undoubtedly offer performance and efficiency improvements over the M4, but for the vast majority of users, the M3 or M for MacBook Pro is already more than powerful enough. Unless you're rendering 3D environments in real time, working with 8K footage daily, or running large-scale machine learning models, you won't need the M5 chip. And when the M5 lineup eventually does launch, the M3 and M for MacBooks will likely be deeply discounted, both through third-party retailers and Apple's refurbished store. For most users, buying one of those discounted models will offer better value than shelling out a premium for a modest spec bump. Translating that old experience to the MacBook Pro would be transformative. We're talking about higher brightness and better durability with double-stacked old panels, thinner lids, and lighter chassis thanks to OLED slimmer build, better battery life due to lower power consumption. Compared to mini LED, significantly enhanced viewing experience for creators, editors, and ProSol displays also bring long-term value. MacBook Pros are typically used for 5 to 7 years or longer, so having a display that holds up with less risk of burn-in or degradation is a huge plus. Apple's next thinness obsession and how it avoids past mistakes. Let's address a fear many longtime MacBook users might be feeling: Apple going thin again. We all remember the 2016 era of butterfly keyboards, missing ports, and thermal throttling, all in the name of a slimmer machine. But based on what we know now, Apple is taking a smarter, more thoughtful approach this time. Apple Silicon has drastically reduced the need for aggressive cooling solutions, and old panels naturally allow for thinner screen assemblies. Add to that the development of next-generation silicon carbon batteries, which can store more energy in smaller cells, and you get the perfect storm: thin MacBooks with longer battery life. This isn't a return to sacrificing usability for style, it's a calculated evolution, using material science and Apple Silicon's efficiency to create a thinner, lighter, and still practical MacBook Pro. M3 Ultra MacBook Pro. Internal testing suggests Apple is exploring it while M5 is taking its time. A fascinating leak surface pointing to something even more powerful: a prototype MacBook Pro running the M3 Ultra chip. This beast would double the core counts of the M for Max, making it one of the most powerful Apple laptops ever conceptualized. So why wasn't it released? Likely because of thermals and battery constraints. The M3 Ultra would run hot and draw significant power, perhaps too much for a portable form factor. Even in a 16-inch body, it's a concept that needs a more advanced cooling system, possibly only viable with the future redesigned chassis. But the fact that Apple tested this at all shows they're experimenting with MacBook Pro Ultra tiers, similar to what they've done with the iPhone Ultra and Watch Ultra. A $10,000 laptop, maybe. And for creative professionals, it might just be worth it. M5 versus M6. Is it worth waiting one more year? If the M5 ends up being a simple spec update in early 2026, while the old redesign and new chassis get paired with the M6 later that same year or in 2027, what should you do? Here's our honest take. If you're a casual user or student, buy a discounted M3 or M4 model in 2025. If you're a pro user, wait for the redesigned old MacBook Pro whenever it drops. If you're chasing the highest possible performance, keep your eyes on the M6 and Ultra tier chips. For most people, the M5 MacBook Pro won't be a major upgrade, especially without a redesign. But the 2026 old MacBook Pro, that might be the most exciting update to Apple's laptops in over a decade. Bonus rumor: will the Touch Bar return? As chatter about new MacBook form factors heats up, there's been speculation, especially on Apple forums, about whether the Touch Bar could make a comeback. Our take: highly unlikely. Apple seems fully committed to the physical function key, RAW, which is more reliable, easier to use by touch, and widely preferred by professionals. But if Apple ever enters the dual screen or foldable laptop market, we could see a more dynamic interface return, possibly even a secondary interactive screen above the keyboard. But don't bet on it in the M5 generation. Conclusion: a strategic pause for a massive leap ahead. To wrap it all up, Apple is not releasing any M5-powered Macs in 2025, breaking from its typical yearly upgrade pattern. The next wave of MacBook Pros is now slated for early 2026, likely starting with the M5 chip and possibly ending with an old MacBook Pro redesign. That could also introduce the M6 chip, and maybe even a new MacBook Pro Ultra tier. It's a big shift, but it sets the stage for something even bigger. With old displays, thinner form factors, silicon carbon batteries, and Ultra chip possibilities, 2026 could be the most important year in MacBook history since the original M1 debut. So the question is, will you wait? Let us know in the comments what you think of Apple's decision to delay the M5 MacBook lineup, and whether the old redesign is enough to keep you holding off. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the future of MacBooks is just getting started.